I am in Amsterdam for the next 40 minutes. I am headed to Stockholm for a work trip for a week. Last summer was the first time in my life I'd ever flown by myself. This sojourn to Stockholm will be the very first time I'll be traveling alone internationally. I boarded my plane and took the smooth flight out to my first layover. Faith actually had a work trip lined up for the same week I'd be gone, so this was especially unique. I'm only here for like an hour and a half, but this is actually the second shortest time I've ever been in another country. Whenever we were on our honeymoon in Croatia, to get from one part of Croatia to another, we actually had to drive through Bosnia-Herzegovina. For 15 minutes, we were in another country, and then we went back into Croatia. After grabbing a quick souvenir for Faith near my gate, I boarded my second flight, bound for Stockholm, Sweden. As a resident of California, it didn't take long during this 2-hour flight to experience my first and most prevalent culture shock of the trip. I noticed frozen lakes, snowy forests, and though it may have been on the cusp of springtime in the temperate latitudes of the US, this was a reminder that I was traveling to a land still trapped within the icy grips of winter. And once my plane touched down in Stockholm, that frigid culture shock made quite a welcome.
It's a bit colder than LA, but this is sunny, but not snowing.
I took a smooth train ride on the Arlanda Express from the airport to Central Station, right next to where I would be staying for the duration of my trip, which made it very convenient. I am now here in my hotel room, forefront in my mind. My luggage did not arrive. It's apparently en route. It's either going to come tonight or tomorrow. All my clothes are in there, including my scarf and gloves, which is necessary because it's very cold outside. Basically stuff I need to live is somewhere. Just take it in stride and hope for the best. I am apparently in the same hotel as 2 of my 3 co-workers that are going to be here for the same work event. It's now 3 o'clock. I don't even think the next person lands until like almost 5, so I have some time to kill, and I think I'm gonna go to the ABBA Museum. I jumped on a downtown tram, which offered a great initial view of the picturesque city of Stockholm, en route to the ABBA Museum. As a hardcore music nerd, I felt it more than appropriate that my first destination in a new country would be a museum dedicated to arguably their most famous band. The ABBA Museum was absolutely wonderful. A beautiful design from top to bottom, with so much detail given to even the most mundane areas, whether it be the locker room or even the bathrooms. The exhibits were laid out to give a comprehensive telling of the entirety of the band's story, from their humble beginnings, blossoming of their relationships, recording process, side projects, cultural impact, fashion, awards, and so much more. I'd grown up in a household where pop and disco music was on at least a semi-regular rotation, and ABBA was a band that I was exposed to at an early age. The real cherry on top was the immersive nature of this museum, with every section finding new ways to engage with its visitors and bring them closer and closer to the band. Amongst much of this was a karaoke-style audition booth, where you could sing along with an ABBA song of your choice. Then you wander through a backstage corridor to a unique experience I've never had in any previous museum in my life. There was a stage where you could dress up and perform with realistic holograms of the band. And of course, I wouldn't fly all the way to Stockholm and not do it. After my performance, a museum staff member tracked me down with an urgent demeanor and told me that the final screening of the ABBA live film was about to start, and I needed to enter the theater and watch the film. The concert film was actually my very first time seeing this band perform visually. and their stage presence made it immediately apparent why they became as titanic as they continue to be. All in all, this is one of the best museum experiences I've ever had. The design, layout, staff, the quality of the immersive interactive exhibits really makes me wish the world spent more time and money investing in museums and attractions like this. Afterwards, I took a little walk around the city to take in the sights before meeting up with some of my coworkers and grabbed some dinner before calling it a night, hoping my luggage would arrive soon. Luckily, the next morning my luggage showed up at my door and I was able to start the day off right, with proper attire for Stockholm. It was so great that my clothing came when it did, because the daytime temperatures were in the upper 20s to low 30s Fahrenheit, so I needed it. Thus began day one of Intro Days, a 3-day event for all new employees at Spotify, to hear from leaders from all different sides of the company and to meet other new colleagues from other Spotify offices around the world. After day one, I joined my coworkers on a walk along the waterfront, and despite the cold, I was actually captivated by the almost comfy vibe Stockholm gave off. Though they were going to be closing in less than an hour, we insisted on visiting the famous Vasa Museum, which houses a massive Swedish warship called the Vasa, whose construction was completed in 1628. On its maiden voyage of the same year, it traveled roughly 1,300 meters before it sank to the bottom of the Stockholm harbor, where she's remained almost entirely intact for over 333 years. Wow! In 1961, it was salvaged, preserved, and put on display in its immense glory here in Stockholm. Though it's unfortunate that the ship sank almost immediately after setting sail, it was remarkable to see something so huge, so close, and 98% of the ship still intact. The Vasa Museum should definitely be added to your list of things to do in Stockholm.
It is now the second night for me in Stockholm. Me and my coworkers, we went to a place called, I believe it's Fria Soder, something like that. I had a deer cutlet with some kind of apple cream sauce. And I forget what it's called in Swedish, but it's basically a confit of a celery root. I had to grab the waiter and I'm like, what is this? It kind of had the consistency of a potato, so like a root, but it almost tasted like street corn. Oh my God. It was amazing.
On this nighttime stroll, I wandered around the picturesque Gamla Stan Old Town area.
There's not many people out and about right now, again, because it's cold. Kind of gives you a chance to just explore and just find what you can find. And that's one of the best parts about traveling. Allow yourself some time to just kind of go. Just pick a direction and walk in it.
Co-workers who have made the trip out to Stockholm for Intro Days have recommended doing some sightseeing in Gamla Stan, and I'd heard it was a big tourist attraction in the city, but having it almost all to myself at night was a part of this adventure I hadn't planned for. It's the occurrences like this that really make travel to different parts of the world so intoxicating for me.
So it's pretty cool. Faith yesterday sent me a photo of herself several years ago whenever she was in Stockholm, a selfie she took, and I believe, if I got this correct, I'm in the exact same spot that she was. What are the odds?
The splashes of red and yellows on these buildings really add a liveliness and vibrance to the cold environment that really helps define the charm of Stockholm. After some sightseeing, I decided it was getting a bit late and it was time to get back to my hotel, but might as well take the scenic route along the waterfront.
Looks warm.
The next morning brought another brisk cold walk to the venue for the second day of Intro Days, where we got to hear from additional Spotify leaders, including the 2 co-founders of the company. That evening, we all went to a Michelin star restaurant in Stockholm. That restaurant is Ekstedt. Opening in 2011, this restaurant is more of an artistic experience than a typical meal spot. The restaurant features a seasonal rotating menu of regional dishes, all cooked within a wood-fired stove and oven. Our 4+ hour culinary adventure began in the restaurant's lobby with a charcoal cream with dry-aged raw beef and vendace roe. After this was finished, we were led to the kitchen, where we got to see the next 2 courses of our meal being prepared right in front of us.
The one is Swedish classic cast iron stove. It's from 1923. We're using it with the birch wood here on the side. On my other side, we have a slightly more open area for all of the proteins on the menu.
Once we completed our outrageously delicious oysters, we were led to our table to begin the rotation of mind-blowing culinary offerings.
And we're taking you back to our summer where we have preserved vegetables. And we're gonna place burning embers.
Oh wow. What is in there?
So it's beetroot juice that we reduced pretty much.
Okay.
And we flavored it with bone marrow. And then now we are infusing it with burning birch. So wooden birch. Yeah.
Of course.
The sensory experience of the food here was overwhelming, and every dish seemed to up the ante.
This is hard.
So many courses. A hobbit could really clean up here.
What about second breakfast?
By the end of the night, over 4 hours had passed, and we were all completely floored by the experience at Ekstedt. The next morning saw the final day of Intro Days, which was filled by presentations by more leaders from different sides of the business. Before our final event of the Intro Days week, there were a few hours to kill, so we decided to walk around the waterfront and Old Town some more, which offered a completely different but equally stunning view of Gamlestan. It was at that point that I realized I needed to find a souvenir for Faith, so I broke off and went solo shopping around the city. That night, we all met up at the Intro Days venue for dinner, live music, and karaoke. And if anyone knows me, if there's karaoke around, I mean...
Good morning. It's my last day in Sweden. I'm about to head out to the airport in a couple hours. It's been a really fun few days this week, coming out here for Intro Days for Spotify.
Despite the freezing temperatures, I found Stockholm a beautiful, inviting city full of unique sights and sounds and tastes.
But alas, all good things must come to an end.
I jumped on the Arlanda Express, and after a quick 20-minute ride north, I found myself back in the confines of the Stockholm-Arlanda airport. Then, after a short wait, boarded my flight, which took me to Charles de Gaulle Airport, where I would have a 3+ hour layover in Paris. After exploring the terminals and partaking in their free retro game arcade for a spell, I boarded my flight and enjoyed a smooth trip back home to Los Angeles. All in all, for a work trip, it was pretty damn great, with several unique experiences I would not get in any other city. Of course, the only drawback was that I had to come solo, but there are many more adventures on the way.
Hopefully this year you'll be seeing a lot more of us. You're going to be seeing more from our trip to Vancouver last year. We have a giant odyssey through East Asia that we cannot wait to bring you along for. And of course, all of our little adventures of living in Los Angeles and continuing to learn and grow in, and we're so excited to bring you along. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time on another episode of A Little Bit of Faith and John. Bye-bye.